Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about using your iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chen, host of the show.
Hello there. Welcome back to another episode of iPad Pros. We're joined this time by Robby Burns, who's been on the podcast a couple times, I think. Music teacher and all that. And we're going to dive into his experiences with iPadOS 26 and this whole change with the multitasking paradigm. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. And with that, here's my discussion with Robby. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Robby.
What's up?
Hey, we got a nice late night recording.
Yep.
As this is, I joke. This is the time for parents to podcast. Is when everyone's sleeping.
It's like the worst time and the only time. So
it's also the time I now go to movies. So if I go to a movie theater and I'm the only one interested, just go at 10 o'clock at night. It's great.
You're insane for that.
Yeah. That's the only time you can escape,
Hey, I did at this hour, not out, but on my couch, I did watch a movie recently, and I was really proud of myself for watching the movie, and I watched it in 2 installments rather than 6.
Well, that's good. Yeah, the not falling asleep is the tough part. So you have to really prep yourself and, do all that good stuff. Because it's really very easy to pass out at a movie theater or something like that.
It's really, it's especially on my couch, really easy. I will say, for the record, the movie was Arrival, and it was excellent.
That's a great movie, yeah. You had just watched that recently? For the first
2 nights ago. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's amazing. It's a good one. That director, check out his other work. He's good. But anyways, we're not here to talk about movies and other things of that nature. But the iPad, this latest update to iPadOS 26, it got me to get a Magic Keyboard, as I talked about, I think, in the last episode. So I finally got one of those for my 11-inch iPad Pro, and I really am tempted to install it on my M1 13-inch iPad, because it seems like this might lend itself to the bigger screen. I think you're a big screen iPad user, is that right?
Yep, I got my 12.9-inch iPad Pro right here. Can I do a confessional?
Sure. And you get the M1? Is that what you're rocking these days?
Well, no. I have no idea why you had me on. I have a 2018 iPad Pro. I'm not putting the Pro in iPad Pro these days.
The part about the Pro and the iPad Pro is that these iPads, they last forever pretty much. These things are very strong devices for many years. And the full multitasking is supported, I believe. Just less windows, I'd imagine, with your model, right?
No, I can stack them up. I can really stack them up. I don't want to push it on purpose, but I have not reached a limit yet. So, I mean, I'm really surprised that they're letting it happen, but I guess if you recall with Stage Manager, a couple years back, there was actually some pushback during the beta cycle to get the 2018 model to have support for the feature, which I at the time was like, of course, yeah. I mean, this thing is way overpowered, and Apple did add Stage Manager, so I don't really see how they were going to not add these new windowed multitasking features. I will say, though, that in the 2 years since Stage Manager was released, I really have started to super feel the age of this thing. It's not just the battery, which is always the first thing to go, but it's really chugging in terms of the anime. I'm tasting the potential of this windowing system. It's immediately clear to me how I want to use it, but it is certainly not responsive in the way that I look forward to my next iPad being responsive with this new interface. I'm hoping that we get new iPad Pros this fall.
I think that we're on the 18-month cycle as we've been on since the first iPad Pro. And I think this fall we're getting some M5s. They'll be the first devices to ship with M5s, I believe, like they did last time with M4s. And you think you'll be ready to upgrade that time? It's time for you.
Well, I mean, I used to update my iPad every 2 years, and then I don't know. This one, it was I had had my like COVID moment with this thing where like I was on my Mac all the time teaching classes on Google Meet, and I needed Mac software for like nearly everything I was doing, and I was like, hey, the Mac is really nice. I like the Mac. So I've kind of resettled with my Mac as my primary work machine ever since. But the iPad, I mean, from previous episodes, I'm really using this thing like a digital piece of paper, especially for reading sheet music at my band teaching job and on gigs. So yeah, I mean, with the iPad, like the gig and the middle school band directing thing is not too demanding when it comes to just paging through a 4-score PDF. So I am surviving with it, but it's got to be by far the longest I've ever stretched a computing device in recent memory, and so I'm ready for the fall.
Yeah, it's 2025 now, is that right? So what, is that a 7-year life so far?
Yeah, and I was looking, I think these things came out fairly early in 2018, didn't they? I think I'm like pushing 1 year longer than that, but I think I'm on the inside of 8 years is what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, I thought these were I could have sworn this was a October release for the iPad Pros in 2018, but I might be wrong.
Could be right.
I'm trying to remember. It's been 7 years, so there's that. I'm opening up Mac Tracker right now and have to update here, and let's see what Mac Tracker has to say. But the iPad Pro from 2018, yeah, October was October 2018 was when those came out.
Oh, I know why I'm confused, because I was actually looking this up the other day. I'm confused by the generation numbers, because I think what I have is technically called the 3rd generation iPad Pro.
Right. And then there's the 1st generation 11-inch, like, because the size changed.
But you're right, what you said though. Like these things, especially since the M chip has been getting put in them, these things are just like so ridiculously overpowered. I would love to believe that my next iPad will not feel like my current one does by the time I'm done with it. But I also would like to think that the M chip is going to be a pretty big jump for me, and that probably in the next 5 or 6 years that the software is. I mean, even with this windowing, I mean, maybe I'm getting too far into it here, but I don't know if like developers are gonna push it necessarily more just because the windowing is here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm curious by the software thing. It'll also depend, I think, on Apple and how, if they make Mac conversions simpler and easier. There's still many APIs that just are forbidden on iPad, so it'll be curious to see how much of that shifts over the coming years as well. But the RAM will be immediately noticeable, because even the M1, if you get enough storage, if you get a 1 terabyte model, even back in the M1 days, you got 8 gigabytes or 16 gigabytes of RAM. So my M1 from a couple years ago, what is that, 2021? Yeah, 2021 has 16 gigabytes of RAM in that sucker. So I'm actually excited to try it on that model, because it should run really well with all that RAM, I'd imagine. Now, someone that uses your iPad as you do, as a digital piece of paper sometimes like that, do you miss slide over and the old system at all? Like, do you wish there was a way to have both?
Yeah, I've heard a pretty good argument that eliminating some of that multitasking is a good strategic play to get more, to kind of set the stage for the future of this windowing system.
Less confusing, for sure. Like, you have some people like, what the heck is happening? You got the slide over thing, and I wish there was a way to have both. Yeah.
I think though, like when I kind of wish that like there was I mean, it's already kind of redundant that you can go from like full screen to stage manager to full on windowing in the settings. Like since they've already added that layer of customization, I kind of wish they would have like a full screen option with that, maybe at least kept like the side by side and the slide over. Because I think like when I'm on the podium conducting, I like to have a seating chart on one half of my screen, a score on the other, and then I slide a lesson plan over, and that whole workflow is going to be, I think, like
the slide over is going to be the biggest downer for you because in the past, like you can still do split view in a different way. It's less.
Yeah, it's just like it doesn't use entirely the same real estate. Do you know? Is there a way to leave the dock permanently visible? Like, so when you make an app full screen, like it's almost full screen, but it leaves the pixels for the dock at the bottom.
No. It'll if you go full screen, it's gonna get rid of the dock. You can drag it so it's now if you drag a window to a certain size where the dock's still showing, you can if you hold down on the green button for full screen, that's where you get the tiling system. So you can have a split screen basically. And if you do that, you will keep the dock visible, I believe.
And are you familiar with the very cool keyboard shortcuts for doing the things that are buried in the green button?
I know they exist. I just don't have them memorized yet.
So I've got some of the keyboard shortcuts in the Apple ecosystem that I have not committed to memory are like the ones that use the globe key, because ever since the globe key was kind of standardized, they've added some stuff. So I believe Shift globe left and right will like take whatever is the foreground app and like shove it equally left or right on the screen. And then there's some others that involve a combination of shift and globe and maybe some other modifiers. Shift globe, up and down I think does the top and the bottom half of the screen. So there's some stuff that's similar to like if you've ever used Moom or Magnet on the Mac. There's a little bit of that. I just really they
Now, something I discovered the other day, and I love this, especially in touch mode, but also when you have just a keyboard and trackpad hooked up. If you double tap the menu bar area, like just the top of the window, I should say, it'll change the window size from full screen to its last windowed size class. And you can just go back and forth between full screen and non-full screen and go back to its previous size. And when you're in windowed mode, if you just tap like the desktop behind it, it'll pull up your apps and all that, and you can just select a different app and it will bring that into the windowed space. So you can like, instead of like, how do I get to my apps to add another one to the space? You can just like tap the desktop, and there you go. You can just fully navigate all your home screens and get to your app library if you want to, and find whatever app you want to without searching. Like I remember the old days where you had to like, let me use Spotlight and try to get this in here, and but now it's so easy to. It's all very touch friendly now to do all this. Is also
I already felt like such a gesture wizard with the previous touch implementation of like how to do app multitasking. I feel like it's elevated to the next level. Like even just things like dragging from the top area of the app to move it around where you want it, like dragging from the corners or the sides of the app windows. Like it's all very easy to control. And I'm sure that once my iPad is not like, 5 frames per second, then I'm going to have a really, really great experience on it.
Yeah, and like the split screen thing that you were hoping was still there, you can actually drag a window and throw it against the right or left side, and that'll 50-50 it to that side.
Well,
so
thank you for that one. I'm glad we're doing this show because that's great.
Yeah, so you can split screen, but just you pull up a window and then you just throw it to one side, and if you can do that twice or whatever. And I think there's all sorts of there's going to be all sorts of hidden things that we're discovering, but that's one of the very handy ones I've noticed. And that will keep the if the dock is visible, it will do it in a way that keeps the dock visible. If the let me double check this, but I believe that's the case. Yeah, that's the case. And if your window is taller and the dock wasn't showing, it'll keep the dock not showing. So it'll respect whatever you had previously there for the dock.
Now, do you know what I haven't tried yet, but I think is now possible? Is I'm pretty sure like I can plug this into an external monitor now, can't I? Because it was not a feature of the 3rd generation iPad Pro. Only the M chip. Has that changed, or is it still M chip only?
Well, you can hook it up to an external monitor, but it's going to behave as a mirrored display.
Okay.
So you're going to have 4:3 aspect ratio, but it's definitely more useful on external because you have full windowing there, so you have more space, obviously, but it is not the optimized for external display thing.
Yeah.
But it's better.
I think, yeah, it's better. I keep wanting to just give you my like. I think I'll just like as we're having this conversation, generate a closing statement. Because like I see what I can like from the second I started using it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is finally like for 10 years ago, this is what people wanted. Like they finally did what everybody wanted, and I immediately know where it's gonna fit into my workflow. Like it's so clearly obvious. Like I'm gonna like I have some caveats, I guess, but like it's very clear that I'm gonna be using my iPad a lot more than I was.
Because the sheer limit on, you had Stage Manager, right? But did you ever use Stage Manager? You just split with split screen like I mostly did.
I would kind of bounce between the two. I have a pretty like a control center thing to switch quickly between Stage Manager and the other method. So yeah, I was using them both pretty equally. I mean, there were definitely times where I would teach. Sometimes I would teach a general music class, and I would have like a standing desk on wheels, and I would like sort of wheel it with my iPad on it around the classroom to enter grades. And I would have like maybe like a lesson plan open in a window, and then my grade book open in a window, and a couple of other things open in windows. And I don't use my Mac for that because my Mac is kind of in the classroom anyway. Is like my audio visual device. Like if I'm going to show slides or play music, it's got to be connected into because we have an audio interface in every one of our classrooms.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I do appreciate how you can just toggle windowing on and off in Control Center to like if I'm handing this to a child, I can just like have it like set to full screen mode where nothing confusing will happen in their experience. But as you said, I do wish there should be a toggle where like in the settings application you should have in full screen mode enable the old style if you want it. But maybe they're afraid like people won't adopt the new style if it's there as a backup, that people will just like, I'm just stick with this. But I don't think they should worry about that personally.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm largely very happy with this from a workflow standpoint. I one of the things too that because I have the beta on everything except for my Mac, and one of the things that I think is pretty interesting is like when I've done some looking at some screenshots of some people who are testing Tahoe, it's I didn't realize at first how much the gentle UI work they did on Mac makes the Mac apps look so much like the iPad versions of the apps, like things like Mail and Notes and Safari. Like they've like rounded the corners of the apps, and the sidebar looks so much more similar to the iPadOS. They really look like iPad apps, and like you could very easily forget which one you're staring at in these new updates. And I think what's interesting is like going forward, it's clear as day that the iPad is not going to have Mac OS run on it. And it's clear as day that Apple knows that professionals have to sometimes run apps that are only going to run on the Mac platform. So, what I think is probably going to happen as these things continue to ever slowly converge is like Apple is just going to continue to do anything they can to get people to write iPad first and then have that run on the Mac, which currently works really well for like the kinds of indie apps that I know that me and you really love. To we love to champion them and celebrate them and talk about them. I mean, I think like some good ones that come to mind are like Timery or Food Noms. Some of these really great apps where you can always expect that on day one of a new OS release, they're coming out with all the new features in support of these new platform updates. And like these are apps that look like iPad apps on the Mac, but I'm so happy that I have them on the Mac, and they're going to look even more at home now that Apple's system apps look really close to their iPad counterparts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, agreed. And the music app is the one thing I really wish Apple would make that a pro app and let us import music like you can on the Mac and all that good stuff. But that's just, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Like, it'd be, how wild would it be to have a CD drive you could hook up to your iPad and rip a CD?
Well, it would be nuts. I think what Apple is doing instead is actually just making the Mac version worse every year.
Yes, including removing support for my beloved 2001 iPod.
So sad.
No more FireWire support. So I will not be updating my Mac because I need FireWire support in the year of 2025.
Can we talk about liquid glass for a second?
Yeah. How are you feeling about this so far? It's undergone a lot of changes. We're in beta 3 right now as we're talking.
Yeah, I've taken. I think that my attitude will 180 several times between now and the middle of next year. My initial response was, I know people are going to be mad about this, but I think it looks really cool. And now that I've seen so many different iterations of it, even in a very short time, I think I'm feeling kind of negative about it. Well, first thing I'll say is that all of these changes are much more obvious on iPhone to begin with. I don't barely notice liquid glass on the iPad.
Open a video player, and the play pause button is
that's a great example though. Is like I find those, and it could just be like the newness factor, but I find those distracting. Like I think because what did it used to be? Just like a flat white play icon in the middle, right? Was what it was before this.
I think so.
So to me, I understand that like the glass circle surrounding it is like, oh, it's glass, it's letting your content through. But to me, it's obscuring more content than it was in the previous version.
Funny, yeah, because I find that one of the most beautiful iterations of where you see liquid glass is, yeah.
And I love those elements. I think they're gorgeous, but there's been several times where they have been downright confusing to me. I'll give you, this is a really like the smallest possible situation that could annoy someone, but I think it's important because Apple is a very detailed company with their user interface design. So I think this is something that I'm trying to figure out how to file this in the feedback app, because I think there's got to be someone at Apple who would care about this. So when you're editing your lock screen, you know how like you can like choose a photo and put that on your lock screen, and like when you choose the photo from the photo picker, you can like pinch to resize, like you know, you can kind of see like exactly how that photo will fit into the frame of your iPhone. So that interface, what happens is like the edges of the image have that glass effect, almost like somebody has taken an iPhone shaped piece of glass and stuck it on top of your photo. So like right around the edges of your photo, at least, and I haven't tried this in beta 3, so maybe they fixed it. But what happens is like you get this like just the very outer rim of your photo gets obscured. And I was trying to do this photo of my 2 kids. And every time I was trying to get it exactly the size I would want, my son's ear was like right on the edge of the frame, and it would do this very strange thing where it's like it would look almost like the very outer rim like was adding pixels to the photo that weren't there, or like was obscuring them in a way that was abnormal. What I didn't realize was that this is not actually how the photo would look once I had hit the confirm button. It was just doing that because in this interface it like has liquid glass. It's liquid glassified. So I was like legit not able to tell. Yeah, I was like legit not able to tell if I was cropping this photo correctly or not because it was adding.
This is on the iPhone or the iPad?
Yeah.
Okay, because I tried on the iPad and I did not notice any liquid glass type things for it.
But this is, I guess, just emblematic of the issue.
Yeah.
I think it's like I think. Yep. Like I think like there's almost any time that glass, like even when I'm just like scrubbing, like I love first of all the big giant glass button that I can now finally grab correctly when I'm scrolling through a voicemail. Like I can never grab that little circle. But when I use it to magnify text, I'm very distracted by like the black, like the way it's obscuring the text to the right and to the left of my selection by like basically like the edges of the circle look black when I'm like swiping through black text. So it's just to me it's extremely visually distracting. I think it looks so cool. I don't know. I think they're gonna dial it back a lot. They already have.
They have a bunch. Yes, text selection it's fun. And I think well done. But yeah, I'm not sure about. I never was a fan of the old way either. I mean, it's a hard problem with text selection. One thing that's been driving me insane for many years is on the lock screen, you have this ability to scrub through audio. And I'm doing this a lot where I throw my phone in my iPhone sleeve or whatever, and it's like I fast forwarded like an hour in a podcast. It's like there's no undo button. I'm just like lost. And that's still present. And this new design where you can just scrub through stuff very easily. Yeah. Has that been a thing for you at all? I know Overcast introduced a feature to undo the stupid scrubbing thing, and I wish every app would allow that.
Oh, that's interesting. So, like, even on the lock screen, you can turn on an Overcast to not let you scrub through the episode.
In Overcast, there's like an undo, like it will recognize, say, I just fast forwarded or rewinded.
Oh, I've seen that pop up before. Yeah. I like that quite a lot.
Yeah, I use Pocket Cast, but that's one of the features. Like, please, every app, please adopt this.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. To me, that shows that like somebody understands how the human mind, is actually like functioning when someone is using an app. Like, just like how that's how the subconscious is working. Like, that's such an easy thing for a person to do, but it's also like not how the app is designed to be used. So most developers would not think to safeguard it like that.
Yeah.
So it's such a detail that
you can
I
easily also in video players. I'm watching a thing in Apple TV or whatever. Accidentally fast forward a bunch because you drag it out accidentally. It's like, I don't know. It's not a good UI in my opinion with that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. As far as so with the windowing stuff for you, you've tried a bunch of windows and it's been slow, but hasn't stopped you from adding more. Because I heard it was a RAM limitation and that it wouldn't get past like 4 or something. Is that not accurate in your case?
That is not accurate. Here, I'm going to try to break my iPad on the
let's see. Yeah, you're not recording on it, so let's see how bad it gets here.
Well, I meant to lead with this. Are you recording on your iPad?
Oh, no, I am not. I'm using the Mac with Audio Hijack, and I've talked on the podcast before about why it's still not there, because basically I want abilities to I want the ability to basically record your audio as backup, and there's no way for me to do that right now on iPad.
Oh, I thought that the new feature
it's
locally recording only the end of the person who's using the iPad. Is that right?
It's locally capturing your audio. And you can do this in any app. I could use an iPhone and use the phone app I could do a podcast. We could be talking on the iPhone with just the phone app and do local capture with that, which is cool. But each person needs to do local capture, and there's no way to do like a backup of your guest, which slightly problematic, I think.
Yeah, it's not quite what people wanted. And I'll say this too. Like, I think what would have excited me more in terms of like professional audio features would be to have some sort of better management of input and output. Like, I would love to be able to run audio out of multiple apps at the same time.
Yeah, we still have the problem of you play a video or an ad, auto plays in some website and just stops your music, and it's so infuriating that there's no solution for that yet. But yeah, Audio Hijack I wish could exist on iPad, but I know why they don't do it. I know the privacy concerns and all that stuff, but yeah, local capture is a good step, especially the it does video as well, but you need to make sure you have storage for it. Because if you don't have storage, we tried this once. It just doesn't save and it doesn't give you any warning as far as like to do this recording you need X amount of gigabytes per minute. There's no like you just hit record and hope for the best if you're running low on storage, which is not great.
Yeah, I know that Zoom does all sorts of stuff to stretch the limits of macOS, but it would be nice if you could do that thing where you just record both sides of the call as 2 separate audio files. I mean, that's my favorite thing about Zoom.
Yeah, you can record audio, but it's only your side, of course. But the video is a neat new thing, and that is something that can be challenging, I know. But
yeah, so it's looking like I can only really have about like 5 windows open that will show content before the previous ones start to look a little faded out.
But they're still there. They're just
there.
faded.
And then around 7 or 8 windows, it will swap a window, the oldest window out for whatever is the newest one in. It'll like altogether like not show the window. So I mean, that's
a good amount for your iPad, I'd say.
I can't imagine. I don't think I've tried to push it this far before, because who would? Is I guess my question. Like when I make my files app, the active window, the Photos app, which was the 7th most recently in the foreground, is just extremely faded out and not active. Like if I swipe it, nothing happens, in the background. But if I tap it, it immediately comes to the. It's not like it was like killed in the background and has to reopen. Like it was immediately
like paused. Yeah.
But I was even immediately able to start scrolling and doing stuff in it. So these apps are like I can't, and I only. It looks like only about 4 of them. Like, do you know how iPad can like support swiping, multi-app swiping at the same time in a way that the Mac can't, because you can like have multiple fingers.
Totally.
So in that sense, it seems like about 4 of them are active at a time, and like I could take 4 fingers and like scroll through all of them at once.
Okay.
And then another 3 or 4 are not killed in the background; they're just not active. And then it doesn't let me add any more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, if I let me drag another app on here. I'm going to open.
It is wild to think like you can scroll 2 apps at the same time in different directions, and that's something just not possible in the Mac, to my knowledge.
It's occasionally useful and nice when I do it. I'm like, yeah, okay.
It's kind of nifty. I'm doing that right now. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, but that's really neat. Where it has a limit of certain number of apps, but it'll just like keep it there and like pause it if there's not enough RAM, which that's a good solution for that.
It's not even really. I don't know what the Apple terminology is this for. It's not like behaving as like an app that has been killed for its background process.
You can
like
still see the content.
I can see the content, and if I tap it, it does not have to relaunch the app. Like it's immediately interactable.
Cool.
Interactable, is that a word?
Sure.
Yeah, and it does, now that I'm counting, does seem to be pretty consistently killing an 8th app if I attempt to open an 8th app. So
nice, yeah. I just wish the vertical height of these windows could be a tad smaller. It's still like you want to be a bit big on the window sizes, which is a decision.
Yeah, let me see how small. I'm trying to see if I can stack. I'm going to try to stack Ivory and Narwhal on top of each other and see like how many social.
And like you can stack them on top, which is great, and put them anywhere you want. So that kind of like, it's nice. But yeah, I wish you could have smaller size classes.
Oh, I just crashed my iPad, but it was. I was going to say, it seems like you could probably get almost about 8 apps on screen if your processing power would allow it. Which, hey, you know what? Like, that's great. I'm into that.
Yeah, and I'm testing it on my one with 16 gigabytes of RAM right now to see how many instances of Ivory I can have open. Do you think Stage Manager will be something you use now with this implementation? Because I think it's got certainly some benefits now with being kind of opened up as far as the restrictions, but also there is a new thing where if you use full screen apps along with the windowed apps, you can like swipe between all your instances pretty fluidly.
I never liked Stage Manager as a concept to begin with, so I don't think I'll ever use it.
And it wasn't the fact that it was limiting to 4 windows. It was just you didn't like.
Yeah, I didn't ever really understand. Like, it never behaved in a way where I wanted to be able to have these fixed groups. Like, I run into this on the Mac actually too, because every now and then I will use spaces if I have like some very specific windows that I'm doing this certain project on. I'll move a bunch of windows from various apps to another space. But the problem is that like if I go back to my other space and I say I like have a couple of like Safari windows in a space dedicated to a project I'm working on, and then I like go back to my my main space, and then I click on a link inside of an email. Well, now it might open that link unrelated to that project inside of my workspace that I don't really want that in. Like, it's not. I don't know how to ever anticipate like what new windows inside of apps, like which space they're going to open in.
Yeah, that's a problem for sure. I wish there was a way to just have it set up where open in my current space unless I like explicitly say to do otherwise. But I don't know how you have a good interface around that.
Yeah, I have 6 little stubby short apps open on my screen at once here, just kind of aligned in a grid. this is cool. I can see some of these apps. I can see data inside of. I've got like got a little things to do list here, a calendar. I can make out the information in an email. Safari doesn't do much for me in this orientation, but I don't know. I mean, this is just really useful. Like, I'm gonna use this all the time.
Yeah, I've got 15 windows open in Ivory, and 2 when I go into Expose. They're like grayed out kind of thing, but they're still there. And I'll see them in Expose, but if I release Expose and then go back to it, it'll only show me 12 of them in the picker. So it's kind of weird. Like, there is UI to show all of them, but it doesn't want to do it. Once I release it, it like hides all the windows. But they're all there, and they're all very fluid and responsive, which is cool.
I do wonder if there was at my workspaces, and here the thing is, like, one of the reasons the MacBook Pro is so sweet for me is that I teach in several classrooms, and so the audio interface and Thunderbolt docking situation is consistent in every workspace. So plugging in the MacBook is just like, okay, I have the same computer no matter where I'm teaching. But a part of me does wonder if the kinds of tools I use when docked to an audio and a visual setup, let me restart that sentence. But because of the kind of software that I'm using when docked to audio and video setups, I'm wondering if like my sort of like mobile type in email, doing web browsing, like if the iPad is going to feel like viable for that in much more contexts now.
Yeah. It's certainly more flexible with the windowing. But as far as docking into things, you need certain Mac apps for that setup. Is that what you're saying as well?
I'm using the iPad on the music stand, and I have my Mac is sort of to my left on a table, and then right in front of me is my iPad. So the iPad is like, running Fourscore and maybe some like a note app for lesson planning. So like to me, I'm just thinking to myself like, okay, like what contexts am I using these? Like if I'm editing audio or writing a score or like running soundboard apps or like Keynote, like I'm only ever doing these kinds of situations when I'm plugged into a setup at the front of a room. Like, is there a possible world in which I have maybe like desktop Macs set up at those stations, and then the iPad is more my like everywhere machine?
Yeah, and one interesting thing, if you had a keyboard and trackpad hooked up to the iPad, you could probably use universal control to control your Mac from across the room, which is interesting.
Yeah, I have experimented a little bit with that. One thing I will say is like, even just when I try to use the iPad like I know Apple wants me to, it really does a pretty good job. Like something I've started to do is I ditched earlier this year. I had a secondary monitor on my desk at work, but I'm really not sitting at my desk that often in the workday. So like I would plug it in, and like every now and then like clamshell mode is a little buggy. So like sometimes I'm fiddling with stuff, and then I got my keyboard and my mouse, and maybe like a battery died on something, or maybe I'm fiddling with Bluetooth, and so I just was like, you know what, forget it. Like I'm never sitting here. I just use my MacBook like it's a laptop. But what I've started to do is, since the iPad is not really doing much during my planning periods, I've started to just sit it right next to my laptop and use the continuity thing where you just like have a secondary display, and I'll just keep a couple of apps open on there, like a calendar and an email maybe.
Yeah.
And that's nice. It's nice. I really like it.
No, yeah, it's the role of the iPad is different for everyone, and it's interesting the kind of things that it sells at for certain people. And yeah, it does make it really nice, just a calendar and just a notepad to do like I know a lot of people that just have OmniFocus as like it's on their iPad, and it's kind of like, look at the iPad, what should I be doing next kind of thing.
Well, and I don't know the last time you did like an Apple Notes power user topic on this show, but like one of the things that keeps me coming back to Apple's stock productivity apps is the way that they're integrated with the iPad, and the Apple Notes is like the best example of this. Like, do all of the gestures to get a quick note open on the iPad have single-handedly make me ditch like Obsidian and Craft and all these other things that I was doing all of my note taking in, and now I'm like, you know what? I'm going back to Apple Notes. I'm gonna use Quick Notes. I'm gonna write with my pencil. And then reminders too. Like I'm gonna like say, remind me about this later, and it's gonna know what app I'm looking in. And
Yeah. Reminders is the Siri integration is just so great. It's like, when I get home, make sure I do this, please.
my one problem with the Reminders app, and I do use Reminders quite a bit, but in terms of like going all in on it, it's missing that one thing that most of the competitors that like most of the third-party options on Apple platforms have, which is this concept of a like, okay, here's stuff I want to be working on today, but it is not actually due today. So for, like,
Yeah.
I'm using Things right now, and that's got a today list. I know OmniFocus has. I have traditionally used the defer dates in OmniFocus.
Yeah, and you can
to
have
get this result.
start dates as well and stuff like that. Start versus
Well,
due
then,
dates.
they're actually adding a new type of metadata in the next update, which is like a planning or a not. I forget exactly the word. I think they're calling it like a start or a planning date, but it's exactly for this purpose. Is that their users are saying, I don't know if a day I want, like, because I think in their definition, a defer date is like it is available to you at this time, but a lot of their users are communicating that they want or are using the defer date as a I want to start working on it at this time.
Right.
And so they're going to have yet another type of date metadata you can attach to a task.
Yeah, that'll be nifty. You can go in the weeds with like all this information you put in, and yeah, the different times of like, when do I start? When it's actually due? What deserves a badge, right? If you're having something that has a badge in your dock or whatever, what warrants when? Is it if something's due today? Is it if something's overdue by like a whole day? Is that when I want a badge? Because that's when it like it's, let me actually take care of this thing that's too late now. I don't know how pernickety you are with what apps are allowed to even show their badges.
Oh, I can tell you. So messages, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mail, no. To-do apps, yes.
The people that have mail badges, it drives me insane. Like, because you're never gonna have an empty inbox. Let's just be real.
Can I brag though for a second? I only have 2 emails in my inbox right now.
Who are you? I mean, do you have a private email address that no one knows? Is that?
No, I inbox zero my stuff every day.
That's impressive. Yeah. I will say
Yeah.
the Messages app drives me
I
a
let
bit.
messages have it.
A bit crazy at times because like I'll open the app, especially on the Mac. It's like there's nothing unread, but I still have a badge here because it's like it thinks there's something unread, and that happens quite a bit. I've noticed.
My badge's number is sometimes out of sync on my different devices.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
And like I'll go, it's usually on the iPad. I mean, it could be a bug because it's or it's just old, but every now and then there will be like several more unread messages on just the iPad, and I'll have to like scroll down a ways. I'll see that something that was marked read on every other device is still,
yes.
Showing up as that I need to read it. Yeah, but those, I mean, for me, it's like messaging apps and productivity apps where it's like the badge is set up to be something urgent.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of exceptions. Photos has it on, but that's not by my choice. I should turn that off.
Yeah, like if someone adds something new to a shared album, that'll show up, right?
That's so rare that I do kind of I don't mind knowing that.
Yeah, no. Are you an Apple Watch user? Do you have the beta on that yet?
I do.
Has your battery been just blowing up? Like, there are days where I take it off the charger, and by 11 o'clock, it's at like 10-20%. And this is an Ultra 2, and it just like eats through the battery with it just being idly showing me the time.
I have been charging it.
There's also times where it just refuses to charge. Like, I'll put it on the charger. It's stuck at like 33% all day long. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah.
I'm not having the latter issue you mentioned, but I am charging my Apple Watch 3 times a day since putting it on the beta.
Yeah.
And it's not good because I'm at a very, very long camp right now where I'm out of the house like 8 or 9 hours a day, and it is not making it through the camp schedule.
What are you rocking as far as hardware?
So this is the first time I have ever not updated my Apple Watch annually. I'm on so what's the current one? The 10?
The 10, yeah.
So I am on the 9.
with the blood oxygen sensor still.
Yeah, and that was one of the things. Is like,
I still have a blood oxygen sensor to my Ultra 2. It's like if the Ultra 3 doesn't have it, good luck, Apple. I'm trying to sell that.
I mean, I expect that it will have it and be turned off. I think what's probably going to happen is because this was actually, I gotta say, like, even before the beta, my battery life was a little iffy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, in all my devices, I'm upgrading less often at this point in my life. You know, as we have talked about with the iPad. But I kind of miss not having an up-to-date Apple Watch. It sounds terrible. I know it's a device that many people keep on their wrist for like 3 or 4 years, but like I was really already feeling the battery. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna probably go Ultra this time around.
Well,
and
Robbie, what you do, you keep the Series 9 as your sleep bedtime watch, and then the Ultra becomes your daytime watch.
That's my thinking. Is I have the Steel Series 9, so I think it will be a nice events and sleep watch.
Yep.
And then I will otherwise wear the Ultra, because at the 9, I think it only tracks blood oxygen when you're sleeping anyway.
I think you can also like manually prompt to like do it.
Oh, that is true. Actually,
Yeah.
I think there's an app.
Something cool with the Ultra 2. Sorry for this Apple Watch tangent, but you can throw it in like a bathtub and use it as a baby water thermometer for getting the water temp right. Most expensive thermometer ever, or thermostat, what do you want to call it?
Oh, I forgot it has that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind diving in the pool and seeing how deep I am.
That is also pretty cool. Like, you just go in a random swimming pool. It's like, oh, this water is 68 degrees or whatever.
Is it the same app that does both of those things?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
can I do the temperature on my current one? Okay.
Yep, yeah. But on the Series 9, it doesn't have a depth thing with the water temperature. It does like wrist temperature, I believe, but doesn't do the water
I do have that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the Ultra 3 because I'm looking forward to the battery life. I'm looking forward to the extra button. It's kind of silly that I didn't get one to begin with. I got Steel thinking, the Ultra's a little big, and then everybody and their family got the Ultra, and I felt immediate fear of missing out and have wanted one ever since they were announced.
Yeah, they're great. I have both styles, but I do prefer the Ultra in general. The bands too by Apple are just all super well designed. Like, I think it's Apple at their A game with the bands. Like, all of them are just super well done. Yeah.
So they have one for the Ultra that is really similar to that Velcro one for the, like, isn't there like a black
There's
Velcro
a Velcro one
for the Ultra? Yeah,
it's
that's what I want.
Yeah, it's super comfy. The Milne's loop is also really well done for the Ultra because it like locks in place. Like with the standard Apple Watches, their Milne's loops, I'm constantly tightening it throughout the day because the magnet slowly weakens or whatever throughout the day. But that one just locks in place, so I can actually wear it to work, and it's not a big deal. Which is nice.
I'm very disappointed with my loop because I got the Steel Milanese loop for this Steel watch because my first ever Apple Watch was Steel.
I love the Steel. It's great.
Yeah, it's a good looking watch. I do. I thought like, I'll take this on nice gigs and stuff, and like being a percussionist and a conductor.
Oh, that's
it's not. It's like it's very problematic. I cannot wear it. I have to use like a black.
The Link bracelet's the thing I'd go with if you want a fancy looking thing for the Steel.
Do they still sell that?
They do.
Is it still $450?
They're a little bit less. I got mine on eBay, an Apple OEM one, for a really good price. So eBay has, if you can find a good listing, that's the way to go with those Link bracelets.
How do I tell if it's the same color? Because they've changed the Steel color slightly since launch, right? Since the first generation.
The gold has changed pretty much every time. You just have a standard silver Steel?
Yes.
Did they ever change? I didn't think they changed the silver. They changed the black, but silver I think is the same it's been since day one. I'm pretty sure.
Is this have they changed the design of this at all since the first generation?
The Link bracelet? No.
It's the same exact one. I'm on eBay
model.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, $160. I mean,
yeah, that's not bad for what that is.
Yeah. The original one is on. I just have an eBay.
Yeah, I've got the black
here.
one that pairs well with the gold watch, and that's a solid thing that stays the same size all the time. But anyways, the Apple Watch beta has been very rough, and I'm hoping the public beta release has a more happy battery, maybe. So I'm going to see if I can switch over to that, and maybe that'll help the battery woes, because it's ridiculous, especially in the summer where it's hot outside and I work outside. So it's like I try to charge it, and the watch is in the car or whatever, and it's like it just doesn't charge because it's too hot. Yeah, but anyways, and even at home when it's in the AC, sometimes it's just like, I'm not going to charge. Why would I do that? Anyways, iPad stuff. Anything else worth mentioning here?
Well, I guess should we pull up their page?
Oh, as far as what's being added and all that.
I'm just trying to think if there's anything major we missed. I mean, the main thing for me, I have a closing statement, I guess I can say. It's been my same closing statement for the past several updates that have been multitasking related.
Mm-hmm.
Being kind of like dominantly a Mac guy again these days, I do feel like every time we get one of these updates, it's like a whole new promise for like, oh, can the iPad be my thing? And then
like,
really
does
quickly,
the menu bar change anything? Is that it?
Yeah. And I think where I've settled now is I have a much more like conservative excitement about this, where it's like, okay, yes, the new multitasking features do make me more of an iPad guy, but it also doesn't make me not a Mac guy. Like, I'm not gonna like completely try to become an iPad guy, because I don't think this is enough.
Because audio
me to
hijack
become that.
can't exist on the iPad
amongst like 200 other things.
Yeah,
right?
and
But
music, there's a lot of music apps that are very high end that don't have, like, there's a Dorico for iPad, but the Dorico on the Mac is substantially more powerful, I believe. Stuff like
But
that.
as a person who does like to attach this thing to a keyboard fairly often and like, type some notes or do some email, like, this is going to make it 1000% funner and easier and more delightful to do. And I just like applaud this finally being, I mean, like, better late than never, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is I think what a lot of people wanted, and I'm excited to see where they go. It seems like there is maybe a little bit more of a public commitment to borrowing things from other operating systems where it makes sense. I would love to see the new Spotlight features coming to Mac this fall eventually come to iPad.
Yes,
because that's a big hole in my iPad software.
It's got a clipboard manager. Like, that'll be amazing.
Well, I mean, these like launcher apps for the Mac, that's like a really, in terms of like everyday workflow, that's like a really big gap in the iPad. And I just don't see them opening to third parties in this way. But if they made it a little bit more customizable, a little bit easier to like do stuff like run shortcuts and do actions inside of your apps, I could really get down with that on iPadOS.
Yeah, I hope next year we get the Spotlight, because, it's like a take on Quicksilver from the early days, where you just have these, quick keyboard shortcuts to do stuff.
Have you...
Yeah.
Sorry, I was saying my closing thought. I guess there's just one thing that did really pop into my head real quick. Have you done anything with the Apple's like shortcuts for like their learning language models, like their
No, I can't think of a good use of it for me, and seems cool that they're there.
Here's where I see the potential being. There is a little shortcut I've been working on for the past few weeks, because like, I mean, we know, and speaking of Mac software, I'm sure some of your listeners have heard of the Sky app that's coming out sometime. I guess we can expect in the current year. That is exactly the kind of thing that will keep me using a Mac. But
from the Shortcuts team, right?
Right, exactly, yeah. And this kind of like automation that combines the language stuff of an LLM with actually like being able to look into and act upon data inside of my own personal apps. Like, this is obviously where Apple, I think, not only wants to go this direction, they wanted to have done substantially more work in this direction by now. I think that a good stopgap, at least for now, is this shortcut action where you can link up data and perform actions on your apps in shortcuts, but then you can have this shortcut which will actually do like the language model-y stuff. So like, here's an example. I've got a shortcut I'm working on that basically looks inside of apps on my device and then kind of like tells me what intensity level my day is going to be based on it. So it's like looking at it's like looking at the weather in Carrot. It's looking at the today list and things. It's looking at my day of events in Fantastical. I'm trying to, but not successfully, getting it to look at my my past week of emails in my inbox and my past 10 Apple Notes that have been modified.
Yes.
But the idea is that you know have all that data kind of set up variables, and then inside of the LLM shortcut action, you either have Apple's on device, their cloud model, or ChatGPT look at all those variables, and then you just type a prompt inside of the action, something to the effect of like, you could use ChatGPT and you could say like, okay, look at variable A, B, C, D, E, and then based on this information, tell me how intense my day will be and what tasks I might want to prioritize or that I might be neglecting based on your knowledge of my to-do list, and then you tap a button, it thinks for a little while, and then sure enough, it, responds to you from ChatGPT's perspective, but using actual information. Now, if you had the smarts to, inside of that prompt, have ChatGPT parse that data, like send it back to you in the correct format that some of these apps can interact with, you could split that up as variables and then have it send data back into these apps if you wanted to. Like, that is absolutely a thing that is possible. So you could say like, look at my things list, take the top most important tasks, and then snooze the rest to tomorrow, something like this. You would of course need to know how to, I don't know if things can, I guess you could technically do it by having the result of the shortcut be broken up by line, like have ChatGPT or Apple's model give you the tasks that are most important, like back, separated by line or by comma or something, split those into different variables, and then have it add them to things as new actions, maybe like, and then have it snooze everything to the next day. I don't know. It's just, to me, it seems like shortcuts can get you part of the way there. But obviously what we want is for app intents to allow us to freely type to and talk to Spotlight and Siri and just have it act on our behalf just by telling it to do things like, log my calories and food noms, or delete all my tasks for the day and change my email signature to I'm on vacation, or something like this.
No, for sure. And yeah, I'm super curious to see what people create with that integration, and because there's both on device and we have access to Apple's cloud models too with the shortcut integration. So yeah, I'm curious what all can be done there, because I'm not coming up with a bunch off the top of my head with it, because Apple stuff it's text based stuff. I can't there's no image generation and stuff like that in there. It's just like parsing text and manipulating it in different ways. I'm not sure what all I could benefit from with what it can do.
Yeah, sometimes it's fun to just play. I mean, I definitely see a need for a shortcut like this in my life, like some sort of thing that wrangles all my productivity apps and says like, here's what you actually should be focusing on right now.
You should do you have a lawn you need to mow in your current living situation?
I do not.
Okay.
Well,
I was gonna suggest, like, if you were in that situation, you could have it like, look at the weather within the next week or two, and like which day is optimal within the next time to mow your lawn or whatever, based on that information. Cross checking it with your calendar and stuff like that.
Yeah, extremely reasonable. There's a lot of stuff that I think people do on a lawnmower that sounds great to me. Like, I almost kind of wish I had the time. I don't have a lawnmower is the problem.
Okay. I hate the task with our yard. Just, we have a lot of trees and stuff falls out of them, and I hate it. And there's a lot of dirt and some grass, but I still have to mow. So it's a thing. And yeah. But yeah, there are things as far as scheduling which would be interesting to automate, I guess, as far as when would be optimal to do this and make me less unhappy trying to do it in 100-degree weather or whatever.
Oh my goodness. That's so relatable. It's exactly that over here.
Yeah, you're down a little bit further south where it's even warmer, which is lots of fun.
Yeah, it's not good.
No. Well, we will have to have you back on when you get the M5 iPad Pro in November or whatever timetable that ends up being.
Oh my goodness, anytime. I'm looking forward to like just trying to use it all the time and you know, letting my Mac be the Mac and maybe the iPad can get more done for me.
Yeah, and you'll probably need a new Magic Keyboard along with that because it's probably going to use the same second generation Magic Keyboard that the M4 uses. My guess. I'm guessing it's just a chip bump, and I'm curious what else they'll tweak to it.
While I'm saying things I want from Apple, I would like to say that I would love them to someday figure out how to make a keyboard like what's the name of the one before the Magic Keyboard existed that was like a folio with a
the smart keyboard.
Yeah, I want that kind of keyboard
With
with
the
a trackpad on it. Yes.
The fabric, yeah, I liked the fabric. It kind of felt good. It was
felt
waterproof.
so good to me.
It was,
Oh my gosh, yes.
the reliability was not great because the old smart connector just like eventually failed on those things. I also loved the old smart connector style. I love that I could use the small iPad with the big keyboard because it's just centered, and it just you could use both if you want. If you had a small iPad, you just pop it on there, which is fun. But yeah, the folio was an interesting thing. I like the Magic Keyboard overall. But yeah, those were also lighter in weight, if I remember correctly. But yeah, the new one's very nice with this aluminum. Feels like a Mac when I'm using it now, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Well, and I have seen generations of iPad Pro since mine in the store, and it's one of those things where like when an iPad comes out where like the screen is nicer, it's so difficult for me to appreciate that until I actually see it. And let me tell you, I have seen it in the store. The light speaks to me.
Yes. You're gonna want to get the anti-reflect. What's it called? The nanotexture.
I don't think I'm gonna do that. I don't think I'm gonna do it.
Oh, it's so good. You need a terabyte of storage. That is a deterrent.
Do they not sell that model in a terabyte of storage?
No, you need a terabyte or more of storage. So you can't get like a 512. You need a higher capacity to get
I think
the
that I would get at least a terabyte of storage.
You would, okay.
For my next time. Yeah.
I would suggest at least investigating the nanotexture because like I can imagine like you're conducting, you don't have the light glaring down the screen. Like
that is something that I've absolutely thought about. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing in favor of it. I just don't want to not like it. I mean, I guess there's a return window. I would
do
like it
and use the return window if you don't like it because I was somewhat skeptical, and then I got it's like you start to notice. Like in the past, like I would use it in the kitchen and not even notice the reflections on it. It was just this is how it is, and then you put them side by side. It's like, oh my gosh, how did I live before this? Basically,
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good to know. That'll definitely influence me.
Yeah. Well, where can folks find your podcast and what you're up to?
Sure. So my podcast is Music Ed Tech Talk, which is about exactly that. And my website is robbyburns.com, where you can learn about me and my music teaching career. And my blog also is called Music Ed Tech Talk. So you can find all of that at musicedtechtalk.com, which is conveniently also links from robbyburns.com. And, I'm on some of these social sites. I'm mostly a lurker these days, but I do auto-post my blog posts and episodes to Mastodon, Blue Sky, Threads.
Excellent. Yeah. I noticed on your website, we need some icons for the Blue Sky and the Mastodon. They're just like the link icon. Which
I don't like that. That's a Squarespace thing, and I haven't gotten around to doing something custom yet.
Yeah, no, not a huge deal. It's like, what are those links? But yeah, they're newer, so Squarespace needs to get on their stuff with that. But yeah, thank you so much for your time tonight, and really appreciate kind of hearing the experience from the 2018 iPad Pro, and it sounds like it's actually pretty decent with this update, which is good to hear for sure.
Yeah. It's sluggish, but I'm using it. So take that as you will, listeners who might have the same device.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. 2018 was like one of the most popular iPad releases ever. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that are curious about how this thing will actually run there. So yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, that's my discussion with Robby all about iPadOS 26 on the 2018 iPad Pro. and a lot of tangents as well, which was fun to get into. If you'd like to find what he's up to, RobbyBurns.com. Check out the Music Ed Tech Talk podcast. And if you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. With that, I'll talk with everyone again real soon.